Hey y'all, it's Amanda and this is my Texas Zone 8 garden, and to follow up my February recap video that also had all my March goals, I'm going to go ahead and do a March garden tour. So I recently started a new series where I'm doing a recap of everything that happened in the garden in February, talking about the most popular videos, but also talking about what my goals were and if I achieved them, what fails, successes, and such I had. And then I went ahead and gave you guys my goals for March with the idea that if you're gardening along with me, that it allows you to understand what's expected in the month of March from She's a Mad Gardener. And so I wanted to follow it up with a video tour that's going to touch on a lot of different things, but it's also going to go ahead and touch on those March goals that I have. So we'll go ahead and get started. All right, so Jeff is running the camera today, so everybody say hi to Jeff. And we're going to go ahead and start in the front yard. So I got a stray hair, it's getting me. One of my big goals that I'm going to be doing the next 2 weeks is prepping and cleaning up my gardens for spring. And I'm going to be working in sections, and I'm going to be videotaping that for you all. I feel like I'm definitely an 80s baby because I say videotape. Most people don't say that. Filming. But this is the first section we're going to be working in the front yard. I have a lot of perennials that need to cut back. I'll bring Jeff in closer. I have been leaving my perennials long, as you can see, like this guy right here. This is a salvia. This is called Cardana, I believe. Salvia, and I leave my perennials long with all this dead stuff on them throughout the winter so that they can provide some insulation for my perennials, but they're also really good for insects and places to hide for insects and such. But now we are at the time where all my perennials are starting to come back, so we do need to be cutting them back. So we will be doing that in this upcoming video. Okay, so you can see that the penny blue violas are doing really great. The goal with these was to create kind of like a river through the garden going through. So these have all started really filling out, and they usually do that in the spring. And you can also see I have Dutch iris coming up here, which is nice. All of the hellebores are starting to flush out really nice. And so basically in this area, I'm going to be cutting back perennials. I'm going to be adding more mulch. We're going to be, all of my pots are tucked in back on the porch. They're going to be pulled back out into the garden and propped up. I actually have a shrub that's died. I'm going to be pulling that up. But yeah, this will be the first area I'm going to be working through, and I'm just going to be going section by section in the front gardens and the side gardens, cleaning up and showing you all what I'm doing in each one of them. Okay, and down here I've had this for a couple of years. Kristen gave it to me for a birthday present. This black diamond hellebore is finally blooming, and these are absolutely gorgeous. I'm loving them. So I'm really excited to see them finally putting off some blooms this year. They're looking really good. All this dead portion is a mum that'll be getting cut back soon. And I gave my shrubs a really harsh cutback in late fall because they were so woody at the base. And so you can see I've got a lot of new growth coming up on those, which is really exciting as well. I always really love spring because there's just a lot going on. So let me step back into this section. So back here we have the limelight hydrangeas, and I do have a video coming up where I will be trimming or pruning back the hydrangeas, the beautyberry, abelia, several different shrubs, and showing you how I do those. And then here we've got the barberry, which is super scary right now because all of its thorns are revealed because it no longer has any leaves, but the leaves, it's starting to bud up, so that'll bloom out soon. And then I have a whole bunch of, I've got a bunch of foxglove that I've got tucked into several areas right here. And then these are some lupin or lupine that I've been trying out. I overwintered them, so I was happy to see that they made it over the winter. So let's see if they actually give me any blooms this year. Now, a lot of my daffodils are blooming out. Let me step out for a second. A lot of my daffodils are blooming out, looking beautiful. I didn't add any new daffodils to the garden this year. These bulbs are all from the past, but they're all looking really nice. One thing I wanted to show y'all real quick is when harvesting daffodils, you just pull them. You don't actually cut them. and it helps you get a longer stem. And then of course it's easier because you don't actually have to use any pruners. So I'll get Jeff to step back for a second and I'll pull a few. So you just come right down to the base with your hand and you just give it a pull. And those come up. If the fresher they are, the easier they are to pull. But it's just you get a little bit longer stem, and of course those are dying ones. So, but I'll be cleaning up the daffodils. This is the second area that I'll be working in. This area, and then sweeping around the front. I'll get Jeff to kind of work his way around, showing this front curve. You can see a lot of the daffodils have already bloomed out in this section, and I will leave the green leaves up for at least to the first week in April. The longer you leave the leaves, the better, because it begins to feed the bulb. And I like the green leaves. I think they're really pretty. You definitely want to leave them until they start to yellow or brown. But they're looking really nice. The pansies in front did not fare as well as they have in the past. So you can see in a lot of these areas, they're really kind of spotty looking. I'm hoping that they will continue to fill in a little bit more, but this is also an area where I'm going to be tucking in a lot of those petunias that I grew from seed. So it actually works to my advantage that there's spaces, because it'll be easier to tuck in the petunias amongst the pansies, and then eventually the petunias will just grow up and overtake all the pansies, which I think will look really, really good too. You can see that this area right here has a better flush of pansies in the other areas. These are the asters that I planted at the end of fall, and they are starting to come back at the base, which is exciting, and which tells me it's time to start cutting back my perennials. Okay, so this particular area, I'm really excited to see its transformation this spring, because I added over a dozen perennials to this space, including phlox, and now I'm going to have a total mind blank on what the other ones were, but a wide variety of, I think, some salvias in here, some rock rose, some gaillardia, several different things, but they were added in here this year. So I'm really excited to see what the space is going to look like, because in the past it's been just annuals all the time. So adding in some of these perennials will be really cool. I'm really excited because right here I have some foxglove, and I've got some foxglove tucked in there. All the foxglove I grew from seed and planted it out in February, and then it overwintered, and they are perennial in my area. So this space is going to be really interesting this year, since it has so much more perennials than it has in the past. Okay, so these are some ice follies, daffodils that are blooming really well. Everything's kind of almost done. And these, once again, are ones that you can pull to get a longer stem. I definitely have some cleanup. I think I'm going to remove a lot of this ornamental grass here. These pots are just toast at this point. So they all need to be cleaned up. And all of these boxwoods on the sides, they definitely need a nice haircut. This one and the one behind me. These need a good cleanup. And then over here you can see that my lamb's ear are ready to be cut back as well. So I'll be cutting back all this dead growth and then allowing all this new growth to come through. That's a really pretty perennial. I divided that, I guess, a year ago, 2 years ago, and it's doing really good. I divided like one plant into 4 plants, which was great. It's time for all of this to be cut back. This is all Meteor Showers verbena, and it has tons of new growth already at the base. So it's good to go ahead and get this all cut back. And once I do that, it will reveal all the plants underneath, which would be really, really nice too. Just lots of pruning that needs to be done at this point in time. Now this is an evergreen that I added over a year ago. It's overwintered again. It's become really pretty, a really interesting texture. I can't recall what the name of it is. I don't know if I saved it in here or not. I'll have to put it on the screen for you all. But I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to adjust this guy a little bit, clean out the front portion of this, and I'd like to do something trailing out of it, maybe some petunias, maybe lantana, maybe some alyssum. Not sure which direction I really want to go with that one as of yet. And we'll shift down this way so Jeff can get all of this section. Right here are my double bridal wreath spireas, and they are getting ready to bloom like crazy. They are covered with thousands and thousands of buds, and these will basically look like an explosion of popcorn. And they should be blooming within the next week or two. They don't bloom for very long, but I do love them so much that they're worth it having it in my garden. I love having the spireas. Once they finish blooming, I'll give them a really massive haircut immediately after their blooming cycle, and then they will spend the whole year growing back new greenery, which will become the new blooms for next year. Now, I'm really happy with the front of this border here. A lot of this is different. I had the daffodils, but this year I added these little snowdrop bulbs, and these are lovely, and some mascari. Let me get Jeff to kind of come up close and show you some of the aspects. These snowdrops are just absolutely beautiful. They work for cut flowers as well. I planted these in the fall, and I love them, and especially love the movement of them. I think it's really pretty. And then you can see the mascari, or also known as grape hyacinth, coming up, which is absolutely beautiful. This was new to me this year as well. And then I mixed it in with some really beautiful pansies. And violas. So I really just ended up loving this whole combination of beautiful daffodils, the snowdrops, the mascari, and the violas. This area just turned out really beautiful, kind of wildflower-esque kind of feeling, but yeah, really, really happy with how this guy turned out. And it's only going to get more and more full over the next couple of years. Okay, so this is the Ruby Falls, a redbud, weeping redbud. It's doing beautifully. It's starting to put on its buds, and it will be blooming in the next probably week and a half to 2 weeks. It's looking really good. I recently had somebody, I guess when I trimmed it, because I like mine in an umbrella shape, the person was like, oh no, you can't do that. You can't trim. That's not how they're supposed to be trimmed. Y'all, you prune them however you want. I like this shape. I purchased it in an umbrella shape. I purchased it for that specific shape, so I love pruning it into that shape. Of course, if you wanted to let your branches come all the way down to the ground, you could totally do that, but it is not required that you allow the branches to go all the way to the ground. This guy is now 4 years old, I believe. Is that right, Jeff? 3 or 4 at least. And it's doing beautiful, and it's obviously very happy with its pruning. So I do look forward to seeing this start to bloom and put out leaves in the next couple of weeks, which will be fun. And so here's another double bridal wreath spirea, which is looking good. And I'll get Jeff to step back a little bit ways. So definitely a whole lot of cleanup over here. This is a lantana, and I'm not sure if this guy is dead or if it's coming back. Lantanas are always the last thing to come back for me, and a lot of times they don't come back. They don't start showing up till May, sometimes the end of May. But this whole area needs a really good cleanup, and this will be a separate project. I really want to plant some kind of larger something or other right here. I might put a couple of cleomes that I grew from seed this year that should grow to about 3 to 4 feet tall. I might do that this year, I'm not sure, but definitely something taller and larger in this area. Now all the iris this will be their second spring, and they're all coming back beautifully. This right here is one variety. I forget which variety this particular one is. Let me see if I labeled it anywhere. But its rhizomes have gone bonkers. I don't see a tag for it. I'll have to look it up. It's gone crazy compared to like this guy back here is a rhizome that I planted at the same time. And you can still see it's only putting off a couple of shoots right here. It's putting off 2 shoots. Whereas this other one over here has just lost its ever-loving mind, which is really fun. That just means that I'll be able to divide out this iris sooner than later, and it would be great. Also, I could tuck some of it back into around these pots and stuff, which would be really fun, and create more of an expansive color with it, which would be nice. This is more of a perennial garden over here. Definitely time for it to be cut back in several places. This is a Windwalker red salvia that's ready to be cut back. I've got some I almost said liatris. I've got some gladiolas coming back. I've got another weeping redbud. This one is called Golden Falls, and it is beautiful. And this one is trained to go all the way to the ground. I call it my cousin it, and it's actually putting off some blooms. I'll get Jeff to come in close and show y'all some of these beautiful kind of pinkish purple blooms. And then these will all give way to almost like a yellowish lime green color, which will be absolutely beautiful. This is an Abelia right here. I'm gonna be doing a pruning on this, and I'll show you the video on how to do this. This was evergreen for me this year. Stayed beautiful the whole time, which is great. You can see that my cat's pajamas, Nevada, is ready. It needs to be trimmed back so bad, but I leave all of this to protect all the plants, which I think is really good. So this needs a really nice, harsh pruning. All that green is coming up through it, which is really fun, but also I'm like, I need to get on it. It needs to be pruned probably this week. I've got all of my Russian sage coming back. This is an area that I really need to make some decisions on and do some work on. I've been training the smoke bush tree to lean to the left, lean this direction. And Jeff can probably get like a really good shot of it. You can see that it's heavier this way, and I'm wanting it to continue to be heavier this way. I would like to train some of these branches to come across a little bit more, but still leave this space open down here. And with that being said, I want to replant down here. Down here I have a lot of yarrow, and it doesn't really produce much, I think because it doesn't get enough sun because of this smoke bush. So I'd like to pull up all the yarrow, most likely transplant it to other areas, and then figure out a new idea for flowers here. I also am considering planting an additional Jackmani clematis at the base of the smoke bush and allowing it to climb up through the smoke bush. I think that that could be super cool as well. Definitely an area that I need to work on. Of course, I've said that about this area for the last 2 years and still haven't done anything with it. It's because I'm just not sure. I got to get a little bit more of a firm idea in my mind before I proceed with whatever I choose to do here. Okay, so if you remember where we started at the beginning, at the front of the garden, the very front of the yard, we're to your left, my right of there as well. And this is the path that leads to the shade garden. So I'm going to take you this direction so you can see. Don't look at the mess. Okay, well, can show my rocks. We can show my rocks. So I messaged Jeff the other day and I was like, how much do you love me? And he was like, I think you said more than anything, right? And we had a neighbor in the neighborhood who was getting rid of these rocks. He was asking if he could put them in his trash can. And I was like, oh. So I hauled Jeff over there and we hauled all of these rocks back. And do I have a plan for these rocks? No, not really. This is a lot of money that he was just going to throw away in his trash can. So we have the rocks now, so now I can have a project, or I can tuck these into some of my gardens, which I would love some rock sculpture kind of feel in some of my gardens, but I'm really excited about them. So this is going into the shade garden, and I'll let Jeff walk in slowly. And we recently installed the overhead portion, but I wanted y'all to see it from this direction because usually I film from the door towards you all. But this is a fun direction as well. It definitely has a really great feel. I'm obsessed with the shade garden. When I did the video on the shade overhead, one of y'all came on and told me that I could get a custom size on Amazon, and you were absolutely correct. So I have got that ordered. I think it ended up being $90 for the custom one, and I ended up going 6 or 7 feet across because another one of y'all told me that don't do the exact measurements because you want to be able to pull it tight, and the exact measurements are like 8.5 across. So I think I went 6 or 7, somewhere 7, I think. So 7 across, and then back to front I went 16, which would give me a couple of feet clearance right around here. So I should be able to pull it tight. And I ended up ordering one that is a darker color because a lot of y'all suggested that the darker color might work well and make it feel more shady and cool in the space. And even though I bought this, this above y'all, I can still use this in other areas to cover different parts, especially on my back porch or during the worst time of the year, putting it over some of my raised beds. So I can still use it for other purposes. It's not a total waste, a little bit of a waste, but not a total waste. But I'm really excited to do that. This is a big project that I have coming up. I have a video coming out this week of me shopping at Covington's where I purchased a lot of stuff for to go in this actual container. So I'm going to fill this with begonias and ferns and several different things. So I'm looking forward to working on this project as well. But the shade garden is going really good and it's going to be fun throughout the year. Okay, so this is the view of me coming out. So the front of the shade garden is going to be really fun too. We're going to be staining this in the next couple of weeks, which will be nice. I'm watching this bumblebee. I'm not sure what he's doing there. And then in front of it, we're going to be planting as well, including a honeysuckle that's going to go up. So once this is stained, I can really start planting and focusing on the front of this. And then this is also where I'm going to be putting those little crystals dangling in several of the squares. I bought like 100 of them. So I should be able to do 50 on each side, which will be really fun. And then I was just telling Jeff, I don't know if I love this triangle right now. I might end up taking the triangle down for a while. I'm just not, I had an idea and a vision and it's not really fitting my vision yet. So I might pull it down for the time being while I work on the other stuff for the entrance. Now, right here, I'm really excited because these are all of the ranunculus that I overwintered. And so I'll get Jeff to come do some close-ups. We have several buds coming up and it is beginning to bloom. So I would definitely say the overwintering ranunculus was a hit, was very successful, very happy that I have blooms already. Typically, I wouldn't have these until the end of March into April. So very happy. It looks like all these like dark purplish red ones are coming up first, but I do have like over here, I've got white coming up, and I should have several different colors in here, which will be great. So I'm really happy with how this turned out overwintering the ranunculus, and I definitely think that this is something I'm going to do again next year. I had it covered for most of the season. And it ended up doing just fine in that really rough freeze that we had. I put the Christmas lights throughout and then put a lot of frost cover and then had another frost cover at the top. So it ended up doing well, with the exception of some of them that were right along the side. Those that were closest to the edge ended up dying. I've already pulled those up just so they don't spread rot. Now back here is the heirloom chrysanthemum garden, which is looking really good. I basically need to come through and pull up all of the Christmas lights that I use for overwintering. I do think that a lot of y'all are right that I did not need to do this for my mums, that they do handle colder weather. I think in the future I'll just do a light cover, frost cover on them, and that will work. And then I definitely need to come through and I need to cut out a lot of the dead stems. Right here I'm actually pulling up a massive piece of grass, because, you know, Bermuda, any of y'all who have Bermuda grass, it's a never-ending struggle with that. But yeah, I need to get in here and I need to weed, and look at this weed back here. This is insanity. Look at that guy. Yeah, I need a weed and I need to cut back all the old growth from last year and get this cleaned up. This will be a fun project, getting it all cleaned up. And then I'll also fertilize. And then at that same time, we'll be talking about chrysanthemums and adding them to your garden, because y'all know I love myself some chrysanthemums. So shifting this direction, right in front of me here are all of my snapdragons, are on this half of the raised bed, and they're all putting off lots of new growth. You can see the buds. These are going to be beautiful. I should be harvesting these by the end of March. There's a wide variety in here. I will say I lost several, so you can see some of the dead branches in here. I lost several of those, but I have so many more seedlings that I'll be coming back and filling in with. I'm not worried about it at all. And then on this half is all my Lisianthus, which also overwintered very well. This is actually a snapdragon. These are Lisianthus right here. There's several snapdragons in here that I probably should pull up and make room for my Lisianthus. Lisianthus won't bloom until summer, the hottest parts of the summer, June into July. But I've got a lot of Lisianthus that did well, overwintered well. Over here was a new project for me. Let me go behind. Okay, this garden bed was a new project for me, specifically these plants right here. let me pull out this weed. These plants right here are sweet peas that I started from seed and then planted out in the fall and then overwintered them. And I had read with how hot it is here in North Texas, is this is pretty much the only way to have success and actually get to harvest some sweet peas. So I did that. They're looking really good. They overwintered beautifully. They're starting to grow like crazy, and I do need to start training them up and over the lattice here. I think would work really good. Not lattice, but trellis. So I think that that'll be really fun to get that going. I mean, we're definitely at a time where I have so much work to do in the spring. Tons and tons. I mean, if I wanted to, I could put out a video every day, and some days I could put out 2 videos just because that's how much work that needs to be done at this point. I probably can't do that, y'all. I wish I could, but I can't. Very happy with the sweet peas. Very happy with how well they did. Next to it right here are all of the delphinium that I overwintered. I started all of these from seed as well. They overwintered beautifully, and so we will have a beautiful harvest of delphinium. All of these delphinium are being grown specifically to be cut, which is why they're jam-packed into this garden bed. I love delphinium. Next year I want to start twice as many. I just love being able to harvest them, but I find that when I only have a few that I don't feel comfortable harvesting them. So I want to start at least twice as many next year. I would love a whole bed of delphinium if possible. Okay, so my maple is starting to bloom, which is really good. And all of these, there's not a ton to look at back here right now. This is all my trailing lantana that y'all told me is a perennial because I'd been pulling it up. It's never overwintered for me, but I left them in this year, and I will cut them back and I will leave the roots in with the hopes that it comes back. If it doesn't, I'll be really sad. But I will say this year I'm wanting to do a lot more climbing stuff on these vines. I'm probably going to put a climbing rose or 2 on some of these. I've also been looking at, I'm going to do more hyacinth bean. I really enjoy doing the hyacinth bean. Maybe I want to do some more honeysuckle, definitely more vines across all of these. Since I installed these new trellis in the middle that I got from Facebook Marketplace last year, and then of course the ones going across, but I really want this all to be more lush. Now I do have a video coming out this week where I'll be cutting back this beautyberry right here. Which will be really, really good. And you probably already saw my video where I cut back my roses. Look how beautifully this is leafed out. This is an oh so easy urban legend, which is looking good. I have clematis back here that is coming back, looking nice. We're also going to be cutting back the butterfly bush in the upcoming video. And I think my hypericum berries are kaput. There's so much dead on them. I'm pretty sure I'm going to be pulling those up and replacing them with different shrubs this year, which is sad, but also like they've been struggling. And I believe I talked about that last year in a video last year about them. They were struggling. So not looking as great. And then over here is just a lot of the same kind of stuff, but this will be fun exploring this. This left-hand corner towards the tree is really becoming far more shade. And so we're going to be putting some more shade-oriented plants there this spring. Okay, so this is the back porch, and this is one of my big March goals, is to get the back porch cleaned up, because you can see total chaos. And I mean, Jeff, I'm sure, will wholeheartedly agree that I'm the worst at putting things away. That's why I married him. I married you so you could clean up after me. I'll do the projects and you clean up after me. It'll be great. So this is a big project. And so basically what I'm needing to do is I'm going to create some areas that are going to have mulched areas out in the garden where Jeff is at, and then we're going to move a lot of these containers out to those mulched areas. So we're going to be getting rid of some grass. My goal would be eventually to get rid of all the grass. I don't think my puppies would like that very much, but it'll take several years for me to get rid of all the grass. But definitely you can see that this is the chaotic mix that needs to be taken care of out here, and this is one of my huge goals for March, doing a lot of cleaning up and also doing those mulched areas where I'm going to have containers. But I'll get Jeff to head this way, and then we'll take a look into the greenhouse. I had a lot of, am I filming? Yep. Oh, okay. I had a lot of butterflies in here earlier. I think that one giant swallowtail figured its way out. The greenhouse is very prolific, doing really, really well right now. I'll let Jeff kind of come take a peek in here. I was going to show y'all one of the Triumph Mix petunias is blooming, and y'all look at this. Isn't that just amazing? absolutely gorgeous. Grew that from seed. All the petunias were grown from seed this year. Definitely time to start planting out the petunias. We've got clematis growing like crazy. We've got pepper plants that are actually putting on, if Jeff will show you right here, baby peppers already. So we're going to have an early harvest of peppers, which I'm really excited about. And there's a lot going on in the greenhouse. It's going really, really well. Okay, and over here is my tulip project, which pretty much I feel has been a fail this year. Let me come over to the side. I don't have a lot coming up. I don't know if I've let the dirt get too, maybe I've let it get too dry. Maybe it needs to be watered more. So far, all I've had is the apricot impression coming up. I'm kind of meh. Everything that is coming up really short. Next year, if I tell you that I want to start tulips, you guys tell me no. Jeff, you tell me no. I think it ended up being kind of a waste of money. I'm kind of disappointed at this point because it was a lot of work to do this and it was a lot of money. So disappointed at this point, but it is what it is. It was a good learning lesson. And if these aren't going to work out, well, I'm just immediately going to turn them into containers for all the seed dahlias that I have. So it's going to be fine. I'll turn them into something else and they'll be able to be used nicely. But yeah, a little disappointed of how they've turned out so far. It feels moist in here. I mean, each of these containers had at least a dozen, if not 20 in each of them. And you can see that it really didn't go well. It is what it is. I'm going to try not to be sad about it. All right, let me walk around. Okay, you can see that the willow tree is blooming beautifully. The weeping willow is gorgeous. Jeff and I were just out here the other day. There's a few branches that we need to cut that are going over into my neighbor's yard, so we want to make sure we trim that. And this tree, willows do struggle with borers, so we will be treating that at the base with the solution that we typically do each year. Now, the beds in front of me have a whole lot going on, even though it doesn't look like much. All of these are beautiful things. First and foremost, you'll see a lot of this green coming across in all areas of the bed. This is green dragon cress that has spread itself like crazy. What I need to do this year is when the cress blooms, I need to immediately harvest it. Do not allow it to continue and do not allow it to go to seed because it has gone everywhere throughout. This was also an experiment I did where I started a bunch of crimson clover in the garden, and I really liked having it. I am going to be cutting it back at this point. Now, basically, I planted it as a cover crop. The idea is that it's supposed to improve the quality of your soil, which would be amazing. But anyway, it's a goal. Maybe I'll try some more of that in future years to come. Over here is a whole bunch of status and scabiosa. This is all scabiosa, and then status is all in this direction that overwintered. And these will be its second spring, but they all did really well. So I'm really excited to get some really great blooms for them this year since they are so far ahead, which will be really nice. I have some stuff across the front, I believe is bachelor's buttons or larkspur. I can't recall it, but it's all that little light greenery, long leafed stuff coming across the front. All of this right here, all these like little like pinwheels with one thing coming in the middle, these are all of the green dragon cress. And they're easy to pull. So at least like that's an easy part of it. They're easy to pull out. Like that. They have a big taproot that kind of goes down. And you can usually, stuff that has like this pinwheel thing has a really intense taproot that goes down. They're easy to pull out. I just need to harvest them when they, before they go to seed this next year. Now up front, my little nest looking thing up front, Jeff will get a close up, used to have all straw flower in it. But they did not overwinter this year. That freeze took them out. So they're all dead. So I started a bunch of more straw flowers, so we'll plant this up. I do really love my nest. I think it's been really fun, and I'm going to create more of them. Lots of larkspur over here coming up. This is all larkspur right here. Just looking beautiful. Here's another one right here. Lacy and beautiful. Now this bed right here is a whole bunch of stuff that I overwintered starting from seed, and I'm going to check these, but I know I'm not going to be able to remember what they are at this point. I'm pretty sure it's Rudbeckia, the Zulu Warrior. This is Zulu Warrior right here, which I'm really excited about growing as well. Oh, I can't remember all the ones I've gotten here. I'll put some of them up on the screen. And obviously it looks like I didn't do, well, I have Zulu Warrior there. I didn't get my things close enough to the side to preserve them for what they say. Oh well, it's going to be fun. It'll be fun exploring. Most everything that I started from seed in here overwintered beautifully, so it's going to be really fun. This is a lot of different stuff for me this year, which will be really, really good. Let's Jeff and I trade places. Okay, see, I don't clean up. See? I don't clean up before garden tours because I don't want to like put a false sense of perfection about, because that's not how I garden. And y'all already said I'm messy. I have stuff out all the time, and I'm always gardening. I'm always doing a project, and there's always stuff out. So I left it out for you all. You can see that my Don Juan is leafing out beautifully, doing really good. My Walmart roses, I have one that's leafed out well, and these other two haven't done much, but oh, there it goes. Finally starting to leaf out. Two of them took forever, but they're starting to bud up and leaf out. It's okay, you don't have to do a close-up that. You're good, babe. In here, we have a whole bunch of Queen Anne's lace right here. That's all coming up and will start blooming beautifully. We've got, this is also green dragon crest, so you can see what it looks like a little bit further along. And this will put off one beautiful stem, and then you harvest it, hopefully before it goes to seed. And then all of these spiky ones in front are all alliums and Dutch iris that are coming up, which will be really beautiful soon. And I even have over here, this green stuff over here, this is all phlox right here, that garden phlox that'll be coming up beautifully. I have a lot of liatris that I'm going to be planting to the left of that phlox. So let me step in front of y'all. Right here, we're going to be adding a whole bunch more soil in this area, and then we're going to be coming across and doing a ton of liatris here as a really strong, hard stop of a border of plants. I think will be really, really good. But this area is done well. I added this little retaining wall last year, and it has held up really, really well. Very happy. Basically all this earth was sliding out. So it's doing a ton better and looking better. A lot of the cut flower stuff that I started from seed is going into this garden. So we're going to be working a ton in this garden. Now to the left are ligustrums that are struggling. They need a really harsh prune back and maybe need to be dug up. I'm not sure. They had never done well since that 2019 freeze. Was that 2019? 2020? 21? 21. 2021 freeze, and you can see just scanning because he's showing you the guys that never recovered. Yeah, they never recovered over there. We really probably need to dig a lot of these up. And then one of the other big projects I want to do with it is I want to make these more tree form as opposed to shrub form. So I want to do a harsh prune back, and then once I can get in, you know, another 2 to 3 feet closer, I want to go underneath and I want to clear out all the foliage and all the branches underneath where we can start seeing just like trunks. And so that it's more open underneath where I can get grass to grow a little bit better underneath. The only thing that I hesitate to get rid of this is my dogs use this as shade all the time. They come underneath here and they hang out. They love the shaded area. It stays nice and cool over here, but it has struggled for a long time. It typically, and you can see with all the yellow veining that it has an iron deficiency. It also struggles with kind of some kind of spider mite web issue. It struggled with that, but it really just needs a really harsh prune back, and then I need to come in here and really clear it out underneath, help them go more up, and then keep everything underneath more open. I might try that for a season or two, and then if I don't like it, we'll probably take them all out and turn it into something else. Okay, I wanted to finish here because look at my beautiful pot of alyssum. Isn't it so happy and pretty? I am obsessed with it. And look, when I rub my hands on it, it snows. I love it so much. This has turned out really pretty. I hope I remember this about the alyssum and the violas next year. I think in these pots, I would focus just on alyssum and violas. They were so hardy and they did so beautiful. All of my ornamental kale and cabbage is going to seed, but it's a really pretty cut flower, so I'm going to let it go. And enjoy that. But yeah, so that is the end of the garden tour. I hope you guys enjoyed going through and seeing a lot of things. I didn't get really specific in some areas because I have a lot of stuff coming up in the next couple of weeks that will be going basically plant by plant in different areas, which will be really fun. I'm literally itching to get outside and get started on stuff and just start getting stuff whipped into shape. I did want to let you know that I am going to be participating in the Wylie garden tour this year. That will be through our public library, which will be really fun, and that will be open to anybody who wants to attend. All they do is they ask for a donation to our library. And I know several of y'all attended last year. I didn't make a big deal of it last year because I wasn't really sure how it will go, but it was really fun. I loved it. So I will be participating in that if you want to see my garden in person. All right, you all, as always, make sure you hit that like. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Every time you like, it grows the channel. Every time you leave a comment, it helps grow the channel. For today's comment, I would love if y'all all gave Jeff a little bit of a thumbs up for him and let him know that he did a good job on the videotaping. He's always a trooper for coming out here with me. Actually, he's not a trooper. He loves it. He loves working out here with me. He loves my passion for gardening and he encourages it, so which is great. So, and then make sure that you guys check me out on my social media outlets. I can't stop looking at the alyssum, including my TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook. All right, you all, as always, she's an ad gardener or decorator or anything else that she wants to be. Thanks, y'all.